on the channel. I use 3D printed miniatures every now and then. But a lot of the time I do kit bashes and, scratch build bits and bobs. And that's very personal. You can't really share that with other people online or other people at all. It's a one-off. What if it wasn't a one-off? So this video is sponsored by the CR Scan Otter. And in the promotional video for this stuff, you can see them scanning stuff like coins, earpods, little bits and bobs. So I wanted to see if I could scan my kit bashes and my scratch builds. I won't scan anything licensed and give it out because, I'm not going to be done by James Workshop for scanning Space Marines, but I do want to share with you my work so other people can enjoy it. So let's have a little unboxing and then we'll look at what I'm going to scan for you today. This is the Creality CR Scan Otter. It is one of the best scanners for this kind of work that you can get on the market at the moment. It comes in a handy dandy carry case so you can take it on the go, you can take your laptop with you and scan stuff wherever you are in the world. And it has a lot of gubbins in here. Looking at this to start with, as a complete beginner, it looks a little bit overwhelming, but I assure you, it is genuinely very easy to use. And then I flipped this bit of the case open and had a little surprise. What the f*** is this? What the f*** is this? So yeah, I was confused as to why there was an owl with his own compartment, but he is, to scan and set up this thing and to be your first project on this device. The owl is kind of tutorial mode, and this is the scanner itself. It's got a high accuracy of up to 0.02 millimeters and can scan items from 10 millimeters big to 20 meters big. So you could scan your own car and put it in your own tabletop miniatures game. That sounds pretty cool. It scans up to 20 frames a second and scans in full color, as you can see when the owl loads through. The model is there, all the texture is there, and so is the color if you wanted to check that out during the scan process. Now I had to put this thing to the test and see if it was going to be useful for sharing my designs and my work with everyone in my community. That's what I'm going to use this for. So you could get this thing to just scan Space Marines and then print more of your Space Marines, or say you wanted a specific part, like you didn't have enough flamers for a squad, scan a flamer, print a flamer. Quite useful for that, but let's put it to the test. Coming up now, I'm going to hand sculpt my first ever hand sculpted miniature. I've never done this before. I've done a bit of green stuff work, but nothing in depth. Can I use this to replicate it and 3D print another identical copy? I am going to try and sculpt my very own Chaos Spawn. This is because it will give me a lot of room to mess up. A Chaos Spawn is gribbly and wibbly and has all different weird bits. It's got loads of different textures. It can look like anything. So this is a good subject matter to start with. I started with a 50mm base, which is the right size for a spawn, and some aluminium wire to make an armature out of. This is the first time I have ever hand sculpted anything like this, so I didn't really know what to expect. I've done a bit of green stuff work in the past. I've been doing this hobby for 10 years, so I've got a little bit of experience, but this was going to be a big trial for me. But I really want to put the scanner through its paces and give it lots of different subtle textures to work with and a very complex miniature. You can see by all these arms, a Chaos Spawn is definitely the right choice to challenge this and make something that's quite complex. With the armature complete, I then had to decide what material I would be working with over the top of it. He is not really looking like much at the moment, but hopefully I can get him there with some polymer clay. This is an oven-baked product. It is £2 for a square like this, so it's very cheap and cost-effective. I also got some sculpting tools to help me in this process, and this rubber-tipped sculpting paintbrushy thingy. The clay didn't quite go on how I wanted it to. I wanted it to go on like green stuff, and I wanted to just blob it on and then shape it, but it didn't really work like that, unfortunately. I found it too soft and squishy, so I decided to take it off as it wouldn't hold its shape as well as I wanted it to. I needed to start again. And what I would do is, rather than work in a deconstructive manner, taking bits off and sculpting out of it, is work in a constructive manner and adding little bits and building up these little sausages, which started to look like muscle texture, which is not something I'll be using in this sculpt, but it's certainly interesting to work with, maybe for a future sculpt, if I want to add muscles to things. I now know how to do it. Little sausages, and the tool had a nice little rolly side, which added kind of stringy stridulations to it, and sinew, and then I firmed them up with the pointy bit on this arrow-shaped tool. This is an interesting texture, but it's not what I was aiming for today, but I did have a lot of fun doing it. It's definitely something that I'm going to do again in the future because I think it looks good. Every day is a learning day. Today I'm meant to be learning how to scan and not sculpt muscles, but here you go. Side by side, we're done with that now. Back to the scanning and sculpting process. Once I'd built up the majority of this thing and added a big eye to its chest, it was time to move on to start baking it because this was getting a bit hard to control. So I baked it and then started adding these lovely tentacles to it. The main body now hard and solid, I could hold it to add other bits to it and sculpt these tentacles in a more blobby fashion, like I'd tried to do with the legs before. It was easier to do this in this manner rather than like the muscular structure because these are meant to be blobby and fluid and a little bit wriggly, and the consistency of the polymer clay helped with this. This is going to be a contrast to the body's kind of rigid, hulky blob. This is going to be wriggly spaghetti blobs coming off the edge of it. And I just want to see if the scanner can pick them up properly. I added a nice tentacle around a tree just to add interest and detail and divots and recesses. This is going to be harder to scan. It's multiple objects on the base. It's really going to push the scanner to the max and make it more complicated for it to do and test this thing thoroughly. Unfortunately, in the baking process, this did break off, but I'll repair that later. That's not a big issue. And I also gave the eye an eyelid, nice and fleshy. Next, I added a bit of bulk to places that I thought were looking a bit skinny on the model, meaning his back. His back didn't look big enough now these tentacles were added, and also to his stomach, make him a little bit more rotund and a little bit more podgy. But he's coming along nicely, the shape is coming along, and it's definitely going to be a test for the scanner. Next, I switched to Tamiya epoxy putty. This is my favourite type of sculpting putty. This is the quick type. This sets within a couple of hours, so it's a lot quicker to work with than green stuff, but I did not have much left. But this was for like the skin over the top of everything. So I used a biro innards, the like straw bit from the inside of a pen, and then pushed these little sucker marks into the tentacles. I was trying to add really light detail that the scanner may not pick up very easily and challenge it to its maximum. Can the scanner produce a 3D model of all these recesses and weird, wonderful little divots that I'm putting on this by hand? I also did this mad chicken foot to cover the armature foot, and I think it's worked really nicely, and a little bit of basing around it, and you won't be able to see the Y foot at all. I was running out of this stuff and I had a lot of work left to do, so I thought I'd switch to green stuff, which is a bit cheaper, and this is old green stuff, so it's good to use it up really. I sculpted fur all over the rest of the body, giving it a kind of woolly texture, making the spawn almost look like a giant sheep, chicken, squid, Mike Wazowski monstrosity. This again would be a challenge. I did have to use the end of my Tamiya putty because I ran out of green stuff, but I was finally there. You can see that I based it, put a few rocks on, and a few plants to try and catch out the scanner again. I'm quite happy with this. This is my first ever hand sculpted mini, and it's quite a bit bigger than your normal spawn. I'm hoping to be able to give this to you guys on the Discord, and then you guys can do what you will with it. You can use it, you can ignore it, but this is kind of proof of concept that I can share my handmade designs with you. So now it was scanning time, and the software is so easy to run. You pretty much just press play, and I had it on a little turntable, but you don't have to do that. You can just wave the thing around carefully and it will pick up all the detail. And then it processes it with one click of a button. You just stop scanning and then click the button and it renders the model for you. And after it's thought about it for a while, you can see it's got the 3D model and then the colour on top. I had spray painted it white because I did a quick Google, and apparently that helps the scanning because obviously white is reflective. But this is not necessarily with this scanner. I just did it to help it. Apparently the scanner can pick up metal and black objects, so it's not 100% necessary, but I thought I'd give it the best chance I could to be able to pick up all the little bits and gubbins that I've put on this guy. Once I had the STL, it was over to the slicer to print it out on my Creality Hallett Mage S, the 14K version that they've recently sent me out, and I added a lot of support, so I really wanted to make sure this thing came out in one go. I didn't have time to do another print before this video has to go out, so I really went to town with the supports on this and made sure this thing was coming out in one go. Here we go, but this isn't the only thing I will be scanning, as you can probably tell from the thumbnail. Something else is coming too, but this is the results. This is the original, all those details on there, all those hand sculpted bit, all the crap on the base. Let's see how it fared from 3D scanning to 3D printing. Pretty damn well. The texture on the fur is a little bit softer than in real life on the hand sculpted one, which makes it look a little bit more woolly, which I kind of like, but I think I have a way around the softening of textures. And like I said earlier, I'm going to be putting this in the Discord, this file, after this video goes live. So if anyone wants this file, join the Lizard of Doom Discord and you can have this for free, my little hand sculpted spawn. But that wasn't the only thing I scanned. This boy has been sat over here for a couple of months now. I did a video on this Nurgle Gundam. Thumbnail here, have a look for it on the channel. And it proved to be a very popular video, currently sitting on just over 60,000 views. And that's quite good for my channel. And I'm giving it away, as I've previously mentioned, but this was popular enough that I want to share it with people. Now, the way I talked about the slight softening of the detail, you've got to work with technology like this. I'm sure you're all decent people because you're all subscribed to this channel. But if I judged you by your ability to pole vault, how many of you are scoring highly in that category? If I've just found a pole vaulting Warhammer nerd, then that is a very small Venn diagram of people. So it is incredibly good at scanning very small things like the coin and headphones shown in the examples on the website. But we, as miniature nerds, like it so crispy detail. So this is your average size Gundam kit. It is a 1/144 kit, and this is quite big for a miniature. But it is the same size as a Riptide. That's why I use these in my TAL videos. And I think printing it out smaller, maybe something like Terminator size, is probably going to be better. So let's have a little look at that. So here is the Nurgle Gundam. This is a big project and we are nearing the 15,000 subscriber giveaway goal for this. Go and comment on that video for this if you do want to win this. And I'll be giving it away in a short on the channel very soon. Let's see how the scan went. Like I talked about, I printed out smaller this time and I think that's really helped. So I think you should sculpt things larger than you want them to be, scan them, and then print them about 50% smaller. That is a decent plan. Sculpt them big and chunky, and then scan it in. The scanner performs really well. All of the little details are preserved. Even the Nurglings on the base are in good order, and that one missing leg is something I snapped off in cleanup afterwards, so ignore that. That was me, not the scanner. So all in all, a review of the scanner is that it is a good product, and I will be using it in the future whenever I do scratch builds or kit bashes or something of the like, and I'll be scanning the thing I make and I'll be putting it in the Lizard of Doom Discord for my community members to have at and do what they want. If they want to clean up the scans a little bit, crack on. Shout out to Loopholes, by the way, in my Discord, who is cleaning up the scan of that Nurgle Gundam, and then it's going to be available in the Discord when he's had a little tinker with it. So thank you, Creality, for sponsoring the channel. Again, they keep coming back, and hopefully so do you. Remember to subscribe. It's not a pile of shame. It is a pile of future fun. See you next time, kids. Peace.